Brandon Aiyuk and Fred Warner got into fights twice. Not once, but twice. I was there. I saw it. Dad, you heard about it. What is your reaction when you hear about this?
I find it very interesting. So
Yes.
let me ask you a question first.
Mm-hmm.
The first fight, they were both on the field together.
Yes.
The second fight, were they on the field together?
No.
Or did Aiyuk come from the sideline?
Aiyuk came from the sideline.
So he wasn't involved, but
Right.
he involved himself.
Yes.
Okay. I went to a million training camps. There are always fights. It's a hot day. People are trying very hard. They get pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
There are always fights. But I think there's more to it than that in this case. I'm going to make the assumption that Warner and Aiyuk are not enemies.
Right.
They're teammates.
Yeah.
And they got into it. For example, I wouldn't think that after the practice today, they went and had a fight in the locker room.
No.
They probably went about their business and that's it. It was over with. So I don't think there's anything personal between them. But I do think there was something else going on. I'm not at the workouts, but you're there, and you've been consistently saying that the defense is dominating the offense.
Yeah.
In fact, kind of pushing it around, making it look bad.
Yes.
I think Aiyuk's a very interesting man.
Yeah.
I think what he was making a statement. You can't do that to us.
Yeah.
It's pissing us off. Yeah. I'm standing up for us.
Yeah.
So the first time, I understand getting into a fight in the heat of battle when you're on the field, but to come off from the sideline is a different act. It's a different intent. It's a different statement. It's saying, I want to get involved. I'm standing up for the offense. And I bet I'm right. And I admire him for that, because you can't have a defense pushing you around.
You're right. You're 100% right. But it's more than just pushing them around. I mean, Fred Warner was crossing the line. And you think well, he was knocking people down. He hit Aiyuk after the whistle. And then Marcus Johnson was coming around. Picture it. He's running a crossing route, parallel to the line of scrimmage. He catches it. And Warner's waiting for his teammate is waiting for him and just decks him, puts him on the ground. In a football game, that's a great play. But in practice, they always you keep your teammates up, stay on your feet, do not go to the ground. You're supposed to make sure your teammates don't fall down and especially don't knock them down. So it's Fred Warner. He's a nice guy. He's a captain. You think he wouldn't cross the line. He was flagrantly crossing the line. And he did it a second time. He did it to someone else, and Aiyuk stood up for the entire offense. He was right.
He was right. He's saying, you're disrespecting us. I refuse to allow you to disrespect us. And I would say all praise to Aiyuk. Where were the other 10 guys?
Not just you're disrespecting us. You could get someone hurt. You could get Marcus Johnson hurt. We're on the same team. And also to me, it's like Jim Harbaugh would have kicked Fred Warner out of practice, not Aiyuk. He kicked Anquan Bolden out of practice. He didn't care how established you were. If you were wrong, you were wrong. The fact that Fred Warner has been able to do this stuff, the fact that he didn't get kicked out of practice, it kind of speaks to a little bit of not a power void, but an authority void. Maybe there's no bad cop on this team that steps up the way that Harbaugh would have loved to. He would have relished the opportunity. Instead, you got good cop Kyle, who, brought the team together and said, knock it off. And then they went about their business and they stopped. But the fact that Fred's crossing the line, head coach shouldn't let it. It shouldn't be Aiyuk who has to step up and say something. It should have been Kyle.
Iggy, I love what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's right. It shouldn't be a player who's policing the field. It's the head coach. You took it further than I did because you're smarter than I am. And I absolutely agree with you. Kyle should have, as they say in baseball, should have got the red ass.
Yeah.
Kyle should have had the red ass.
When Fred Warner knocked over Marcus Johnson blatantly and intentionally, they should have kicked him out of practice. And it's like nothing personal. You can come back tomorrow, but we have rules. You broke the rule and you could have hurt your teammate. And we need to set a standard and make sure this never happens again. So yeah, good for Brandon Aiyuk. And what's funny is he brought this up in a press conference a few days ago. Someone asked about the competition or something, and he mentioned that Fred Warner has been doing a lot of trash talking, and it's really annoying. So I guess this has been on Aiyuk's mind for a while.
I don't know Aiyuk, and you don't know him very well either. He's a hell of a player, and obviously there's tremendous substance to him. You do, in fact, know his mother, and you like her very much, right?
I do. I do. What I want to say is that it seems like what can happen with football teams is if one side is way better than the other, offense or defense, it can sort of become two teams. Like the good side blames the bad side for everything, and you need to be one team. You need to be all in it together. And this team is is in danger of falling into that because the offensive line is inexperienced, the quarterback's inexperienced. The offense is really struggling in camp. We'll talk about that later. The defense is so overmatched. I mean, the offense is so overmatched. The defense needs to not rub it in because they need this offense to be good enough for them to win.
Right, because they have the same goal.
Yeah.
What you bring up, Shanahan, is very interesting. Now, he played good cop. He just said, let's knock it off, guys.
Yeah.
That may work. If that works, fine. But I understand what you're saying. You would have preferred him to make a stronger statement as a coach, i.e., as Harbaugh would have done. And I would have too, honestly.
The way Harbaugh would look at it is, if I kick out Fred Warner, I get my point across. Because no one's bigger than Fred Warner. If I uphold this rule with the captain of the team, then everyone will fall in line. But if you don't enforce it with Fred, who else is going to step over the line next? Right? And then when you finally do enforce it, then you're inconsistent.
Yes. By the way, Singletary would have kicked him out too.
Maybe that's old school. I don't know. Things have gotten a lot different in the 10 years, 12 years that I've been covering this sport. Official B&M Music 88 says Warner is embodying Rick James by being a habitual line stepper. I'm here for it. That's a captain trying to tell the O to step up. That's the other way to look at it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think to a point, but if the goal is to not knock your teammates down in practice, I think you have to live up to that. I mean, Aiyuk's not knocking down defensive players.
Iggy, before you read that, it's very interesting. You look at a practice, but there's a lot of subtexts. Oh. There's a lot going on aside from the workout.
Yeah. You wish you could get it all. I mean, I'm sure that you get 10% of it, but today was a lot.
You wish you could really get to talk to Aiyuk privately and he'd be honest with you, which would never happen.